all the For Dummies books I wrote, my favorite by far is this one, WordPerfect for Dummies. This is the original WordPerfect for Dummies, published in 1992. This book took me 3 weeks to write, and a lot of people are like, oh, wow, what a liar. But I had a hell of an outline. I remember back then they signed a bunch of books with me, and I had to write For Dummies books like every month, which was great because it was like printing gold. But this one, they kept having me write other books. Where's WordPerfect? So I'd send them an updated outline. I kept working on the outline for months. So finally, when it came time, I was able to write this book really fast. And this, to me, was the pinnacle of humor for a For Dummies book. DOS for Dummies was actually a lot shorter than it should have been because there really wasn't a lot to say about DOS. But this was an actual program people would use, a productivity program. So I really unleashed in it. And it was kind of odd, too, because they said, the publisher was like, oh, you want to write WordPerfect for Dummies? Do you know how to use a word processor? And I'm like, I've written books. So anyway, it was my word processor. This book has a hell of a lot of humor in it, and some of which I got into trouble for. But in the early days, before the companies started hiring lawyers and things got really bad, there was a lot of humor in this book, inspired by Mad Magazine, by the way. How about this for a chapter title, Cleaning Up the Crap? I tried to put the word crap into one of my later For Dummies books, and they said no, I couldn't use that word. So when I wrote this, things were allowed. Let me just review a few of the highlights, especially because when I would read computer books to learn something, the examples were terrible. So again, inspired by Mad Magazine, here's an example from the chapter on blocking text, where the text is called The Berenstein Bears Maul a Dwarf. See, that's an example I wouldn't mind reading in a For Dummies book or any computer book. Here's one showing different styles of text you can do. And of course, the phrase that I'm using is, don't bleed on the rug. And if you grew up in my house, you know that if you came in from outside and you had a stubbed toe, that was what my mother said. Don't bleed on the rug. This is perhaps my favorite text example, which is a brief story about a group of space explorers who meet some aliens and they eat them. There's one story that I haven't talked about that was included in a later version of WordPerfect for Dummies that had the publisher in a panic, and I will tell you that one next.